Hello everyone, and welcome to my podcast. Last week, I talked about who we are and how people see us. And the question that was left is what makes us who we are? The short answer is our childhoods. Now, some believe that we are born with certain qualities or characteristics that we might have inherited, and here comes the debate of nature versus nurture. Others believe in astrology and horoscopes and its effect on our personalities. Some believe in the experiences in utero and how the mom's emotional state affects the child, which I also believe. Some believe in generational traumas that pass on to us and affect us in our lives. And I bet there are so many more. But the point is, let's focus on what we have some sort of control over. Just like our parents' way of parenting affected us greatly, whether positively or negatively, let's be aware of the impact that we have on our children and try our best to do better by them. And this is the point of this episode. In addition to a bit of reflecting onto our own childhoods to understand certain things about ourselves, so it's always good to reflect. Now, I personally greatly believe in the impact of parenting, as I've seen firsthand how it affected me. As a child, I was a very sensitive child. I still am sensitive, but in a different way. I was very sensitive and would cry if anyone spoke to me with a bit of a negative tone. I would do everything right so that no one would tell me something negative. I was very shy and wouldn't speak to anyone. I remember this one time when I was in around grade 3 or 4. I wasn't that young, maybe 7 or 8 years old. During the break time, I usually would take my food and sit on a bench alone to eat. And usually my friends will come and sit on the same bench and keep me company. Now, one day I was late to come out of class. And when I reached the playground, all the benches were taken. And I could see my friend sitting on one of them. So what would make sense is I go and sit with them. But no, I couldn't get myself to do that. I was too shy to force myself into the group. Although I was a part of the group already, it was very tough for me to do that. So I looked around and found a bench with the kid sitting on one end, so I went and sat on the other end without saying anything. That was easier for me to do. But then my friends saw me and joined me, and they asked why I didn't sit with them. I don't remember what I said, but I think they understood that I was shy. This is to show you how my personality was and how shy I was, how introverted. I don't think I talked much even with my friends group. But my mom changed me. Bit by bit, she made me stronger and she changed a lot of my thoughts and how I viewed things around me. How? One might ask. By talking to me. She talked to me a lot. She asked me about my views, listened to me, and told me about her views. She had to repeat herself a lot. It took her years to see changes in me. But it worked eventually. And I became this person today because of her. And it's not just my personal experience. The more I read about this topic, the more I'm amazed at it. In her book, What to Expect the First Year, Heidi Murkoff wrote about the importance of a child's first 3 years, titled Making the Most of the First 3 Years. She wrote, and I read, "Your baby won't remember much about the first 3 years of life. But according to researchers, those 3 years will have a huge impact on the rest of his or her life, in some ways more than any of the years that follow." Research shows that a child's brain grows to 90% of its adult capacity during those first 3 years. During these 3 phenomenal years, brain wiring, when crucial connections are made between brain cells, takes place. By the 3rd birthday, about 1,000 trillion connections will have been made. While your baby's future, like his or her brain, will be far from fully shaped at age 3, a whole lot of molding will have gone on, in large part thanks to the nurturing you'll be busy doing. Research shows that the kind of care a child receives during those first 3 years helps determine how well brain connections are made, how much that little brain will develop, and how content, how confident, and how capable of handling life's challenges that child will be. And that's where you and your loving arms come in. Alright, done reading here. But yeah, this is to show the importance of the first 3 years that most of us usually write off. Like the kid is too young to understand, so we will teach him or her later, and they will learn as they grow. But they are already learning more than we know. They start forming beliefs about the world around them and about themselves from this very young age. Let me give an example here about crying. A baby's only way of communication is crying. They cry to get their needs met, which is mostly needing to be fed, changed, or held to feel safe and sleep. They also cry when they're in pain, like having tummy aches and so on. Let's just say they cry a lot. And it could be really annoying, as sometimes it could be continuous and unexplainable, especially during the colic phase. Now, a parent's job is very difficult. They need to cater to their baby's needs 24/7, which, to say the least, is exhausting. So I don't mean to make it sound easy in any way. I remember there was this one time when my mom and I went to help my sister-in-law and brother with their baby who was going through the colic phase, and during the crying time, which was from 6 p.m. till 12 a.m. So we went to help lulling him and singing to him to comfort him. And I remember my voice was dead afterwards. Like, he would stop crying for a bit and maybe sleep for a bit, and then a bit later he would start crying again and again. And I must say, the crying was really irritating. Like, you feel helpless. You're trying everything and nothing is working. But it is important to keep trying and to make your child feel your presence, not to leave him or her alone just because whatever you're doing is not working. The long-term effects of your baby feeling that no one is there or no one cares, like, I'm here in pain and I'm trying to communicate but no one is trying to help me, is more damaging long-term. So being there with the child, even though it doesn't seem to be working, is still better than leaving him alone. And this reminds me of a parent in which during one of my parenting workshop, I was talking about this and how if you leave your baby cry without counseling them, they start forming beliefs like no one cares about me, no one is coming, there's no point of communicating. So later on, this parent comes and talks to me and tells me that that part triggered her. As with her first child, she was reading books on parenting and sleep training and was doing by them. So she had to leave her child to cry himself to sleep. And she felt that wasn't right. Her heart was breaking hearing him cry. And so she didn't repeat the same for the second child. She kept her close instead. And she told me that now, after 14 years, she sees the difference in their communication. The eldest keeps to himself, while the second is more sharing and communicative. Now, one could say that this can't be as simple as that. And of course not. There is a lot of factors that affect how one will turn out to be. But the earlier the experience and the more repetitive it is, the more difficult it is to disprove it in their brains and to let go of it. But it is not impossible, because our brains are moldable and we can change any belief we have about ourselves with repetition. So yes, our childhoods are very important and they affect us more than we realize. This was just one little example that may develop from a very young age, and it either grows stronger or is disproved with the continuous care and love that the parent shows soon afterwards. Our attachment style, which affects our relationships, is also influenced by the attachment that is formed with our parents or primary caregiver. So, according to the book How Psychology Works, and I'll be reading here, when a child feels secure that their needs are met, they develop a secure attachment. The caregiver is sensitive to the child's needs, responding quickly and regularly. The child is happy enough to explore their environment and feel secure. This would lead to a secure attachment style. As an adult, they feel confident in relationships and are willing to ask for help from a partner as well as offer support and comfort to their partner when necessary. They retain independence but are loving towards their partner. Now, if the child does not believe that the caregiver can be relied on to meet their needs, the caregiver's behavior is inconsistent, they are sometimes sensitive but other times neglectful, the child becomes anxious, insecure, and angry. This leads to anxious attachment style as an adult, in which the constant fear of rejection drives this adult to be clingy, demanding, and bordering on obsessive, not wanting to be separated from their partner at all. Their relationships are driven by emotional hunger rather than real love and trust. Now, thirdly, if the caregiver is distant and somewhat unresponsive to the child's needs, that child also becomes emotionally distant, subconsciously detecting that their needs are unlikely to be met. The child does not develop a secure attachment. In this case, they develop an avoidant attachment, and this leads to an avoidant attachment in adulthood, in which the emotionally distant adult appears self-focused and independent. The independence is an illusion, a result of denying the importance of loved ones. If their partner is upset and threatens to end the relationship, they appear not to care. Now, fourthly, if the caregiver is unpredictable, so the unpredictable caregiver scares the child either by being abusive or because of their own passive, frightened state, the distressed child grows withdrawn, unresponsive, and confused, with no strategy for having their needs met, which leads to a disorganized attachment in adulthood, in which the adult swings from one extreme to another, is emotionally unpredictable, and may end up in an abusive relationship. They are torn between seeking comfort from their partner and being afraid to get too close for fear of being hurt. So I'm done reading here. This is to show how the care that we receive as children can affect our relationships when we're adults. And it's not just that, also narcissism is affected by our childhoods. There are two causes of narcissism. One is the overinflation of a child's sense of self by telling them that they are better than others, more beautiful, more intelligent, more athletic, or whatever it is, just simply comparing them to others and giving them superiority over them. In addition to praising them on the littlest of things, this creates grandiose narcissism. The other cause of narcissism is neglect. When you neglect a child, then the child feels like they need to care for themselves because no one is caring for them. So they start to only think of themselves. And as an adult, they may seem selfish, only caring about themselves because that's what they're used to. That's their way of survival. And this is called vulnerable narcissism. Now, narcissism is a very deep topic that maybe I'll talk about in more details in another episode. But the point is that so much of our personalities is affected by our childhoods. And it's good to reflect and look back to understand ourselves better, to understand where certain things are coming from. Because with understanding comes empowerment, and you are empowered to become who you want to be. So that's it for today. I hope that this episode made you curious about your childhood and made you aware of the impact you have on your own children. No pressure. Yalla.
See you next time.